Americans seem to be more stressed than ever and gaining weight because of it.
The latest survey shows an average weight gain of 17 pounds because of emotional eating. Megan Mikhail is in the clinical science department at Michigan State University. Megan, thanks so much for joining us. Start off first by talking to our viewers about how do you know if you are stress eating and not just snacking?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. So stress eating is really a response to the emotions that a person is feeling. So if a person is eating in response to hunger cues, that might be more kind of that snacking sort of thing, or in social situations like at a party, that's probably more snacking. But if a person finds that they're eating a lot because they're feeling those negative emotions and afterwards they might feel even more stressed or more guilty, that's often that kind of stress eating or emotional eating.
Yeah, I think the joke is you just get the tub of ice cream and go after it and you feel better, right? But it really is no joking matter if this leads to serious weight gain and possibly health concerns. So is there a certain type of stress that tends to lead people to this type of eating more than others?
It can really be all kinds of stressors that can lead to this for people, but often it is interpersonal stressors. So if people are having conflict in relationships, that can trigger stress eating. Also, if people are feeling isolated or alone. There's also research showing that financial stress or job-related stress can really trigger this kind of stress eating. So those kinds of factors may be things to look out for, but it could also be personal stressors that are impactful for an individual person.
Is food ever a good coping mechanism, even if you're, say, eating like carrots or, healthy nuts?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. So I think people can have a lot of guilt or shame around stress eating, and it can actually kind of amplify the problem. So if people are stress eating or turning to food, it's really understandable. Everyone does that at some point in their life. So I think that self-compassion is really important. If you're going to that as your coping strategy, it might be because you're feeling really overwhelmed and you don't have other kinds of strategies. But in the long term, the ideal is to develop other kinds of coping mechanisms. So that's not the only strategy that people have to turn to.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about those coping mechanisms. Do you have some ideas? If one of our viewers or some of our viewers are watching right now and says, wait a second, I'm not just snacking, this is me. What can they do to try to overcome it if they're in that place to want to overcome it?
Yeah, so talking to someone can be really helpful. So if someone feels comfortable, that can be a therapist or even through online therapy these days, which is really convenient for a lot of people. There are treatments to help with this, to help people develop those coping strategies or to think differently or relate to food differently. But it can even be helpful just to talk to a friend or family member to break that cycle of shame and to practice things like awareness of emotions and awareness of hunger cues. So to notice when you're starting to feel really stressed out and doing some of those self-care things like even taking a nap, taking a walk, doing something that helps you feel calmer or more centered can really help with some of the stress that arises, and then these more unhelpful coping strategies like stress eating that may come into play.
All right, Megan, we really appreciate your time this morning to talk about this because we know it's an issue that affects, like you said, all of us at some point or another, some more severely than others. So we hope people do get help out there if they need it. Thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.